Say hello to Magnus Carlsen, and it's time to see the three rooms methods in one of his games. Of course, I'm going to show you how from the beginning he got this beautiful position against Mamedyarov, another very strong grandmaster. But more importantly, since Mamedyarov resigned at this point, you're going to see me converting this against the strongest engine on chess.com, which is something that I always recommend you do. In this game, we're going to start in room number 1. When we're done with it, it has to click and we have to stand up, go to another room to play the middle game in that second room, right? So Carlsen starts from the beginning, just developing the minor pieces is one of the three main items. Pawn to e6, just opening up the bishop, and once that bishop is out, then he's ready to simply castle. Now after knight f3, notice how it is not going to be so easy to develop this bishop. We're putting two pawns on the same color as that bishop, so instead Magnus decides to play pawn to b6, and in the next move he could easily develop the bishop. So pawn to g3, and just like that we got bishop a6. For all we know, Magnus being the black pieces, he is ahead in development. He has two minor pieces out while the white pieces has only one. And I really like this move because he's starting to develop the pieces, but he's doing it with a tempo. So now his opponent, instead of developing another piece and castling, he has to take care of that pawn. Now Mamedyarov plays pawn to b3, and then Magnus simply brings the bishop back to b7 because it is a better diagonal. Now, very important here, notice how it looks like a waste of move, and we learn we shouldn't be moving the same piece twice in the opening, but it'll be a big deal if you are moving back and forth and your opponent is developing their good pieces, the bishops, the knights, the queens, the rooks, but all Mamedyarov did was push another pawn, right? So after bishop b7, bishop g2, and in no time we're going to simply castle. That's it. If Magnus develops faster, if he castles faster, he's ready to stand up, go to room number 2, and then start doing what we're supposed to do there, which is improve the pieces, attack, attack, and attack, right? After bishop d2, Magnus, being Magnus, he said, nope, I'm not going to take you so that you improve your knight. I want you to use one of your turns to get that knight out. So he played pawn to c5, strike in the center, defending the bishop, and then after bishop takes, pawn takes, and yes, black is getting doubled pawns. We've talked about how that could be problematic, but it, like anything in life, it also has benefits, and one of the benefits is semi-open file for your rook, right? Maybe not right now, but in the future. So pawn to a3, basically we are talking about the same idea. If we take, we're helping them take back by improving that knight, and also the rook is going to be open. White would not need to develop that rook because it'll be already open, right? So Magnus is saying, let me develop another piece. Instead of taking with the pawn to help you, let me develop the knight. And knight c6 makes a lot of sense, but this bishop is so good that we want to leave it open. So as counterintuitive as it is, knight to a6, and basically our last minor piece is developed. Now we learned, oh, knights don't go to the edge, but this is just momentary. In no time, whenever he wants, he could bring it to b4 or to c7, and he should be fine. So castling, and then after the black pieces castle, I know that a lot of us will play mechanically, play fast. Well, now we should really be aware of the fact that we're done with room number 1. Our focus is not controlling the center or trying to control the center. We're doing that already. It's not developing minor pieces. We've done that already, and it's not putting the king in safety because we're already castled. Now our priority should be take these pieces and try to put them into enemy territory. Let's try to incorporate the queen and the rooks, and let's try to attack. Let's try to attack, capture pieces, checkmate the king, things like that. If we accomplish any of those things, we might be ready to just trade down pieces and walk into the third room, but we have to do that consciously. So after castling, queen to d2 like we should, but Mamedyarov is not developing the knight. Now Magnus continues with room number 2. So queen goes to e7, pawn takes, knight takes on b4, and just like that, we got our first minor piece. We went from just developing it to improving it and putting it in enemy territory. Does this mean we're going to win the game? Of course not, but this is the beginning. Right now, it is just one knight. Let's say I managed to get another knight, and then the queen, and then when you have multiple pieces working together, putting pressure, tactics are going to be in the air. So after knight b4, knight to c3, finally they developed, but for some reason it feels like the black pieces are the one in control. So after knight to c3, think of what you'd play next in this position, but Magnus goes from having his knight in his territory to bringing it over to the center in enemy territory. Now, it's just a fair trade. This is what I've been telling you for the last few videos. It's okay to simplify, not the end of the world. With taking pieces off the board, it makes our life easier. And at the end of the day, even though it was a fair trade, we ended up with a piece in their territory. So we went from having one piece in their territory to having two pieces in their territory. And after 95, what do you want? You don't like my bishop on e4? Okay, now I'm just gonna trade. And the only thing I would like to do now is ask your knight to go away. And this is what we talked about last time. And you could see it here in our list of things to do in room number 2, no bystanders. Now, one of you said something very, very smart, which is, I'm thinking of bystanders as this knight in my territory. No free parking, kick them out. But then one of you said, hey, what about back here? Sorry for the back and forth. What about this knight back here? This could be a bystander. It could be a problem to their own pieces. So the white pieces could be like, no bystanders here, go out and do something for the team, right? So let me know if it makes sense to talk about it that way as well. So anyways, bishop e4, traded bishops, and then pawn to d6 is not possible because we lose the knight. So Magnus said, okay, pawn to a5. Our knight is going to stay there for as long as I want to. This knight cannot say the same thing because it could be attacked by pawns. So we got a knight in a weak square, and the white knight is not on a weak square. A weak square is a square that cannot be controlled by pawns. So after a5, pawn to e4, and then without any delays, kick the knight out. That's why we get in trouble. Now, of course, before you play this move, look around. How many times have you fallen for a knight fork? If I play this 6, the knight could jump to c6. Nope, I'm taking it. Everything else is covered, so we kick it out. Knight goes back to f3. And now, simply, I don't know what to do next. I ask myself, which of my pieces can I improve? If you look at the list that we have in room number 2, we are supposed to improve the rooks. Now, remember when we talked about the double pawn? We got a semi-open file for the rooks. This file is really not that good anymore for my rook. I have a pawn in front of it, or my own pawn in front of it. So rook goes to c8, h4, and again, notice how we are focusing on improving pieces. White pieces are just pushing pawns. Of course, I think they're trying to get to expose the black king, but after pawn to h4, time to improve the queen, and the queen went to b7. Just like in the beginning, Magnus developed the bishop to put pressure on the pawn. Now he's doing the same thing on this pawn, looking for hanging pieces to improve his own pieces at the expense of the enemy pieces, right? Just gaining a tempo. Now after queen to b7, hitting the pawn, we got pawn to d5, and this allows us to open up more files. Remember, every time pawns move, the whole infrastructure of the board changes. New roads, new highways can be opened and closed, and you gotta be paying attention to that. So next move, rook to e8, because now when I take this file, this road is going to be open for my pieces. So think of it like a tank or a bazooka. You're there like, get out of the way. My own pawn needs to get out of the way so that I can attack. So knight to d4. Notice how this knight is, again, if you look at the list of things we have to do, your minor pieces that are already developed from room number 1, now we want to improve them. So knight to d4, you again look around, those knights could be so tricky. This is covered, This pawn is defended, but we have to be very, very careful. Now, after knight d4, Magnus played something that I think this is the difference between these players and the rest of us, right? So he took a moment to say, my knight is good here. It looks very good, but it's not really doing anything. Now, if this knight were floating in the air and I could place it on any empty square, where would I put it? Well, c5 looks very, very attractive because from here I'm attacking 2 pawns. e5 also looks attractive, but that's not going to be that good because they can kick you out with a pawn. So Magnus took a moment to go back to a6 to reroute the knight to c5. Simple as that. He's not trying to checkmate Mamedyarov in 2 moves. He's just trying to maximize his pieces, and then opportunities will come and he will be ready. So h4. Now Magnus took a moment to put a stop to it, and at the same time he's opening up a escape. Now again, one of you said, should we add this to the second room, something that we should try to do? You let me know in the comments if you think that would be too much to remember, if you think it's too obvious for most people, or if you think it's good to have it there as a reminder. Now rook goes to h1 and knight goes to c5. Very simple. The knight is happier here attacking 2 pawns at the same time. Even though the knight is defending one, we are improving our knight, we are putting pressure. Now rook h4, finally our own rook opens up, so we take. They better take with the e pawn or we're going to take it. And now Magnus is saying, I got the open file. What's better than 1 rook in the open file? Well, 2 rooks in the open file. Then we got knight to f3, attacking the rook. Any of us would have panicked and just moved the rook right away, but Magnus said, hold on a second. I could move the rook, or I could I could just take your pawn with a tempo on the most valuable piece or the most powerful piece you have. So you're gonna have to do something about it. Truth is, Mamedyarov could have played something like queen b2 and then simply take the rook as well. For some reason, I don't know the timer situation, but Mamedyarov was like, you know what, full on attacking the king. So Magnus said, fine, I'm going to take this free rook. Rook g4, they did not even take. And even if they had taken, we're gonna be, after we move the knight, we're gonna be up a piece anyways. We have a passed pawn. So Mamedyarov was committed to attacking the black king, but after queen d7, that's it. There's just nothing they could do. There are plenty of pieces here to defend the king. I personally would have played something like f6. That's it. I don't want the queen to come over. I don't want the knight to come over. If you take me, I could take with either pawn. Oops, sorry. And that's it. For all I know, these two are not going to checkmate me. Not when I have my queen nearby. Even my rook could come over, and that's the end of it. Now, something that I always tell you to do is when you're reviewing a game, you're doing an exercise, and you have the possibility to do so, go ahead and try to convert against the engine. If you were playing this game against Mamedyarov, would you be able to convert after this? Well, I'm going to go ahead and finish it against the strongest computer on chess.com. Of course, they took, but now the only question I ask myself is, how can I mess this up? How can I ruin it? Of course, if I drop my knight, if I get checkmated. And then the only other question is, what's the easiest way to convert this? All I'm thinking is, I have a passed pawn, push it, push it, push it, push it. That's it. So let me bring the knight over. You're attacking my pawn, so I'm going to defend it. No silly mistakes. Don't give him anything. And now I think, yeah, knight to the center, being very, very careful. I do like queen f5, pinning the rook, but maybe I don't need that in my life. Take takes. You know what? I'm happy to give this pawn for free if that means I'm gonna simplify the game. We're already keeping it extra simple. I just don't want to get checkmated. Push the pawn. That's it. That's it. And then I think I'm just gonna bring my knight to safety, or should I bring it here? Let me bring it to safety. All right, so they're attacking the pawn. And we go. Keep it simple, keep it simple, keep it simple. I'm just gonna go. I really like the idea of sacrificing material just because this should be an easy win now. Give me that. Check. 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 Oof, this should be an easy win now. That's it, simplification. Now, this is apparently the strongest computer. I think they made it too easy for us to simplify the game. Let me bring my king around, activate the king. That's the number one item, very important. The moment the queens are gone, my king is very happy to come out. No queen to attack it and drive him crazy. So we keep going. Now I could bring my knight over, definitely. Now that's it. I was gonna give the knight anyways and distract the king, and then I go for the rest. Check. How can I defend my pawn? I guess I could do this in so many different ways, but yeah, why not? Bah, they did not even take. Okay, computer is not even trying anymore. Then here we go. Yeah, and we go for the very basic queen checkmate. Cut off the king. And then checkmate. That's it. I hope that this made sense to you. Notice how all the Magnus did was follow the steps in our 3 rooms, and then once he had the advantage, it's a matter of simplifying even more and going for those endgames that we already know.